So today I wanted to talk about resentment and forgiveness. I think that it's interesting because I recently, and I say recently, in the last like few years, I've done tons and tons of self development, and a lot of times people will bring up like resentment and like for example, I worked with a mentor once, and she had us do this exercise where she like take the next 5 minutes and just write down anybody who comes to your mind who you have like a like something going on with, and like let's like write what's going on, like you haven't forgave them for something or you're resentful towards them for some reason. And I remember this was 2 years ago when that exercise was like in front of me, and I remember being like, I don't have any enemies, I don't have anybody that I'm like resentful towards. There's nobody really that I feel like I need to clear the air with. And typically, for the most part, how I operate, like if there's something like a problem that I have with somebody, I'm gonna voice it to them. Like I'm going to like it's gonna just come all out, and I'm not holding back anything. But then over time, and I just realized this because I just came back from a leadership conference, and I realized in this conference how much I I confuse vulnerability and authenticity. And like the biggest confusion that I've made with that is I'm a very vulnerable person. Like you guys who follow me, who know me, you know that I don't hold secrets. There's certain things I don't say online out of respect for my husband, but if you catch me in person, I don't have secrets. I let everything out. But I'm also not authentic in that there are a lot of times where I will have a like a disagreement with my mother-in-law or with my sister or with a friend or with a family member or with whoever, and I won't be honest with them about it. I'll just go, and my husband is like my safe space. So I learned years ago back in like elementary school not to talk crap about people. Like I that was just something that I learned. It's like you don't um sorry, I learned that like you don't talk about people, especially now day and age. Like if you text something, my daughter, my 11-year-old, learned that lesson like 3 years ago. She texted talking about one of her teammates, and it wasn't even bad. It was just she did this or said that, and then that teammate showed the girl, and it's like you. I learned long ago I don't talk about anybody like behind their back, but my husband gets the brunt of it because he's like my safe space. So something will happen between, let's just say, my family member says something to me that pisses me off and rubs me the wrong way, then I'm not going to say anything to them. I'm going to go to my husband and be like, can you believe that she said da, 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 or he did da, 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 or this person this and this person that. And I realized this last week when I was in this training how much I don't confront a lot of things out of not wanting to have the awkward, uncomfortable conversation, not wanting to hurt people's feelings, not um like all these different reasons. But the number one reason that stood out was not wanting to look at my own damn self and not wanting to look in the mirror and see what do I have to do with this situation? Why is this happening? And if I'm going to be a responsible being and take responsibility for my life, then I get to assume that I had a part in this disagreement happening, no matter who it is, whether it's a parent or a friend or a family member or a client, whatever the situation is. So I get to be the responsible one by either assuming that I played a part in it, and by assuming that I get to discuss it and confront it authentically. Otherwise, it's not my place to be rubbed wrong and all messed up about, because I'm not willing to do the two things, which is take my own responsibility and to confront it. So I thought that this was a huge like blind spot in my life that was revealed to me this past week, and I wanted to share it and share what my things. Now this doesn't have anything to do with the training. This is just me reflecting on my top, let me see how many little like bullets, 1 2 3 4 5, so my top 6 things that I believe are like key things to consider when you are dealing with resentment and forgiveness of somebody. So let's just take a moment to think of one moment that you have resentment towards somebody, or you get to forgive somebody, or you're not being forgiving towards somebody. And let's come from that context of um, this happened to me, this person said this person did that. Like get that moment in your mind. And who is that? Lauren. Hi Lauren. So get that person or that moment in your mind so that you have like a come from as I'm sharing these things. So the number one question that I'm going to propose to you is, when this incident happened, have you taken a moment to ask, what role did I play in this? So how did you show up in this? Are you a complete victim, or can you take some responsibility? Like, can you assume that you played a role in it? And you know what's so crazy is I should have come up with my own example so that I can give examples of context. But let me think of, like, because I'm like, out of respect for people who are online, I don't want to like just use specific examples. But I'll use like I'll use like a light one, and I hope my sister doesn't mind. I'll use my sister because she was one that I had like some resentment towards, and I'll share why. So I had resentment towards my sister because I felt like she would leave me out and do things with people and wouldn't invite me to things. But when I stopped and actually looked at this as a whole, I realized that I'm doing the same thing. I do tons of things and I don't invite her. And I got to see that not only do I not invite her, but sometimes I actually purposely do it because I'm like, well, she's not inviting me, so I'm not inviting her. And so then number two is, have you looked at their perspective? So the first one is, have you looked at, do you play a part in this? Are you a complete victim, or is there something that you've done that you actually could come from a different place and realize like, maybe I did cause this because XYZ. The second one is, where have you looked at their perspective? So when I stopped and looked at this from my sister's perspective, I realized that she could be thinking the same exact thing about me, because I had to ask myself, okay, well, Crystal, when was the last time you invited her to something? When was the last time you reached out to her? So you're over here playing victim, like, oh my God, she doesn't invite me anything. She does stuff without me, but you're doing the same thing. And sometimes it was intentional and sometimes it wasn't, but I looked at her perspective. So ask yourself, have you looked from their point of view? The third one is, have you even confronted it with that person? So this is probably the biggest one, because if you are going to be all ruffled up about something that has happened to you, or something that someone's done to you and you're all resentful about it, have you even brought it up with them? So I realized when I was looking at that example with my sister, like, I hadn't even brought it up with her. It was just like this big elephant in the room where we just were living our life, and I was feeling some type of way, but it was like an underlying thing. Like, it was running deep, like, where I would like watch her stories and be like, oh, what is she doing now? Because she didn't invite me, or I'm not there with her, or like, there she goes again. But like, she probably could have been thinking the same thing, right? And so the reality is I don't know what she's thinking, and she doesn't know what I'm thinking, because I haven't even had the nerve to bring it up. I would actually even bring it up to my husband and be like, dang, like, do you think I'm old? Like, am I too old for her to want to hang out with me? Like, why do you think that she's not including me in things? And he would be like, I don't know, babe, why don't you ask her? And I'd be like, oh, like, I don't, that's weird. Like, I don't want to be. And then my ego would be like, no, I'm not about to invite myself. Like, if she wants me to be there, she'll call me, she'll invite me, right? So here comes the ego again, right? So biggest thing here when it comes to resentment and forgiveness, are you mad at somebody? Do you have resentment towards somebody that you haven't even addressed it with that actual person? And even worse, have you addressed it with other people and not them? And so that's like, that wasn't even like, I didn't make that a point, but it's like the other side of the coin. Like, not only do you get to bring it up with that person, if you've got enough to resent somebody and feel like you can't forgive them, then you get to have a hard conversation. Otherwise, you're either going to live forever with this turmoil with like between you, and it's going to block your own blessings. It's going to block your own like openness, because you're going to have a place in your heart that's blocked because you have somebody else blocked. So you get to decide, do I want to free up like space for more blessings and forgive this person, or am I going to just continue to be resentful and like always have in the back? I mean, I can't imagine, now that I've like confronted it, I can't imagine going my whole rest of my life like thinking this way about my sister. Like, that's my sister. She's like my best friend. Like, I love her to death. So I can't imagine going through life feeling like, oh, what is she doing now without me? Oh, wow, she actually invited me because she had to. It's her birthday. Like, that's how I was feeling, right? And so, like, on the other side of that token of bringing it up with the person is asking yourself, is asking yourself, have you like shared this with other people? Because that is like ground rules. Like, do not share your resentment, your experience, your frustrations with other people. Like, now that's hypocritical for me to say, well, I can share with my husband because he's my safe place, but you can't share with that one close coworker or that one best friend. I am even challenging myself. I'm setting a new standard of integrity for myself that my husband doesn't get a pass. If I feel the need to share to my husband what somebody else did to me, I get to stop myself in my tracks, and I get to go to that person and say, this happened and this is how it made me feel. I don't know if that's what you meant to do. I don't know if you meant to make me feel this way, but this is how I was feeling. Right. And I noticed myself kind of telling other people, because now that I'm reflecting on this example, there would be times where people would ask me like, how's Jordan doing? How's your sister doing? I'd be like, I don't know, like doing her. And I would like kind of make room for if they probe and ask questions, and I could be like, yeah, I don't know what she's doing. Like, we don't even really talk like that anymore, or whatever. Again, that's a red flag that you get to have that tough conversation. So I'm laying down the ground rules, like in my belief, that if you feel the need to bring it up with any other individual, the very first person you should be bringing that up with is the person that's making you feel that type of way. Period, point blank. And if you don't, then you're violating a sense of integrity, because it's basically biblical not to gossip and not to bring things up. So I took that Bible verse to a whole nother level, learning this about myself. Like this is why God made that a whole like thing in the Bible, because it's like, it's not a productive thing, and it blocks like blessings. It blocks productivity in your heart. I'm seeing a battery dying on my computer. So I'm like, shoot, hold on 1 second, guys. I'm so sorry. I just don't want my computer to die on you. So hold on. So bringing it up with other people, and I kind of lost track of what I was saying on that point, but I will move on to, I was saying like how now I see why God made that an actual thing, because it's not productive. And I really believe that when you have resentment towards people, you're blocking blessings in your heart. You just are, like, you're creating a wall and you're blocking things within your own personal life. So the last one, the last two is, have you forgiven yourself? Do you have resentment towards yourself? Because one of the things that I realized was, if I'm going to be so judgmental on myself and be so hard on myself and not forgive myself for doing certain things, and like I always bring up old stuff with myself. I'm constantly like, remember when you made that one mistake? Remember when you did this? And like, I don't consciously do that, but that's my subconscious. My subconscious is not even trained to let things go. Like, it holds myself accountable for, not even accountable, because that's a different, like, that's actually a good regard. It holds myself, like, it holds my failures over my head all the time. So how often are you not letting yourself off the hook and not having forgiveness of yourself for things that you've done? So if you can't do it for yourself, then it's going to be a challenge for you to be able to do it for other people. And the last one is that I truly believe that Jesus forgives for everything. So if you think of like if you know the Bible, you know that it's like there's no sin greater than the other. And so if God can forgive anybody for the biggest sin as long as they repent, then you get to forgive other people. Who are you not to forgive somebody when God and like Jesus will forgive you? And so you really get to reflect and ask yourself, why am I so mad? So I'm going to use a different example, because like with my sister, it was amazing. Like, once that became like relevant to me and my eyes were open to like the fact that I was holding resentment, but yet not willing to have the hard conversation, I had the hard conversation, and it was like a big weight lifted off of both of our shoulders, and we were able to see each other's point of view. But I'll give you a deeper example. My dad wasn't there growing up. My dad's done tons of things. So here's an example of where we can fall victim to, well, yeah, like sisters, we're friends, like we did that to each other, but like a parent should never abandon you, or a parent should never treat you a certain type of way, or a parent should never emotionally or physically abuse you, or a parent should never like deny you of certain things or treat you differently from siblings. I feel like most people have some type of baggage towards their parents, because no parents are perfect, right? But some of us more than others, if you've had like a very toxic or like traumatic childhood, then you might have a little bit more resentment towards your parent or parents than others. And so that being said, it still doesn't matter. Big, little, small, close, not close, friend, family, coworker, enemy, frenemy, whatever, person on social media, God created us all equally, and he created all sin equally. So if he's willing to forgive, then we get to forgive. So I really want to invite people to really explore, and I'm going to like just put this out there because I learned this part from the leadership that I was at, the training, that if you want to know more about that training that I did, great, message me, reach out, whatever, I can share information with you. But like, because we went through a whole process of going through that. So I'm not going to go into that, but I'm going to say from my personal experience that what I took from that was that doesn't matter how deep and how bad you are impacted by somebody, you get to forgive them, and you get to find it in your heart to forgive them. So how do you do that? You can go back through these things that I just mentioned. What role did you play? Maybe you're like, I was a child. I didn't ask to be born to this parent. I didn't ask them to do this, and that to me. Now you get to ask yourself, are you willing to have that conversation with that parent? Some people don't have the opportunity to have those hard conversations because maybe the parent is gone, or you can't reach the parent, or whatever the reason is. So whatever level you're at, wherever it falls, you get to just ask yourself, am I willing to find it in my heart to forgive this person for whatever they did? Because at the end of the day, what I really want to leave you with, and what I want to share on that note, is that the way people treat you, when I now look at like all of the abandonment and all of the like things, I'm not even going to go, and because my dad might even be on the live. If you're here, Dad, hi, I love you. I forgive you. Like you're, you know, like I love you. But like, I'm not going to go into my personal things, but like, it doesn't matter how bad it was. One thing that I really want you to know is that my mom taught us this growing up: hurt people hurt people. So if somebody hurt you, if somebody abandoned you, if somebody isolated you, if somebody did something to you, it probably is because that was done to them and they didn't know how to heal and they didn't know how to move forward. So you get to be the change maker and be the difference and be the one that's like, you know what? You hurt me. You threw stones at me. You did this to me. You did that to me. But I'm going to find it in my heart to know that it has nothing to do with me. You abandoning me, you abusing me, you hurting me, you saying bad names to me, you talking about me, you tarnishing my name, you doing whatever it was that was done to you is a reflection of yourself and not a reflection of me. And I'm not going to hold that against you because I know my worth. And so I just want to encourage you to separate your worth and your value and your being from what people do to you. And I'll leave it on this note because this example was used, and this is an example I tell my daughter all the time. I tell my daughter all the time, I tell her, if somebody tells you that you're yellow, like, and yellow's not a good example, but I'll use like colors, like if someone tells you you're purple, like if someone says you're purple, ha 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 ha, like she'll come crying and be like, oh my gosh, my sister called me purple. And I'm like, are you purple? And she'll be like, no. And I'll be like, then it's okay. But if you are purple and you're mad that they called you purple, then you get to ask yourself, well, why does that upset you that you're purple? And so what is it that people are calling you or telling you? Because sometimes this goes back to that first one. You get to reflect on yourself and be like, why does that make me so mad that they're calling me purple? Or they're calling me purple and it doesn't matter. And you know that they're probably just calling you names because they've got their own stuff that they're dealing with. And you get to show them love. And you get to like just be a loving, forgiving person to them. So those are my like 6 points for you guys. I believe that this is so important because you know, the work that I do in helping people be the best version of themselves, I find that like past traumas and past hurts are one of the biggest things that hold people back from moving forward. I find that a lot of people that I work with in my programs have, if I'm being frank about it, it's an excuse. They'll make an excuse to validate, well, I can't do this because this happened to me. But I want to just remind you and encourage you to know, I had to take out a braid. I'm like, what is happening here? But my braid hair is sticking out. But I want to remind you and encourage you to remember that, that every moment, basically, I'll put it that way, every moment, not just every day, but every moment is a new opportunity to reinvent who you want to be. and who you get to be. And you don't have to base that on what happened a minute ago or 10 years ago or 20 years ago or 5 days ago. You can decide, you know what, I'm not defined by my circumstances. I'm not defined by the way people treated me. I'm defining who I am. I was created in the image of God. I know I'm worthy. I know I'm amazing. I know I'm awesome. I know that I have purpose on my life because God told me that. God created me. He is the one that dictates my worth, and he made us all worthy. So anytime you find yourself being validated or dictated by your circumstances or by what someone has done or said to you, you're actually discounting who actually matters and who actually created you, because God is really the only one that matters at the end of the day. And so if you can separate yourself and your way of thinking to recognize when something triggers you and somebody triggers you, and then see like why, and then take responsibility, you'll usually eliminate most of your problems. And then for the ones that it's like, I didn't have anything to do with that, my parent did that on their own, then I invite you to accept that they've got their own things. And the best way to turn back with that is not resentment and unforgiveness, but it's actually love. So that being said, I know for those of you on Zoom, is there anybody who wants to unmute yourself and chime in or say anything? I really want to keep these calls under 30 minutes, but since we're close to 30, I'm just going to stay on for a couple and see if anyone wants to chime in. But otherwise, we'll end it there. Thank you guys for getting on, and let me know. So yeah, go ahead.
Hey, I have a question. So, and I was like really excited that you had this topic because I'm like currently struggling with this now. So like just a quick synopsis. I have a really close loved one who I look forward to them helping me, their commentary, their support, all this kind of stuff. But like I've noticed a pattern that I always have, like whenever I have big things in my life coming up, like something that excites me, something that, you know, is like I'm leveling up, whatever. I look to them for support. They're with me all the way up until like it almost is like that big day, like, you know, like something big finally happens for me, and then they like, it's almost like a gaslighting experience. You know what I mean? Like they're with me, they say they're with me, all this kind of stuff, and then when it comes down to the day, they just kind of drop off. I always say that I forgive that, but then it keeps happening. So like, I guess and two, I brought it up to them. So what do you do, like when you bring up situations and you try to clear yourself with that, but then like it seems like that person needs counseling as well. You know, like I'm fine. I acknowledged it. I told you what it is. I forgave you, but then I also need you to stop. You know, like I need you to just listen to me. But like, what do you do if it's still a constant?
This is like a load, like so many things came to my mind while you were talking. So I'm going to try to go backwards and then come to, because what first popped in my head was like, okay, let's just say this is your business, Breakfast at 6, you're creating lingerie for women, you're on a mission, you're a woman on a mission, like I'm going to create amazing custom and like thoughtful pieces for women to feel sexy after having kids, right? And you got a friend or a family member who's not supporting that. Two things came to my mind. Number one, don't do anything in life for validation. Number one. So check yourself. This is where you get to go to your own thing. Like, am I looking for validation from this person? And then when I don't get it, then I feel triggered because they didn't validate me. Because you're on a mission. You're doing this for the service of women. So find your validation in when you get a picture from me, like, girl, look at these high-waisted panties sent you my mom belly. I feel amazing. I feel sexy. I'm about to go beg my husband to like make a boy, right? Like that's where you find your validation, because you're serving and you're solving a problem for somebody. Don't find your validation in people like, see, I did it. I'm balling. I'm successful. I got my business. See me, see me. So check yourself. I'm not saying that's you, but that's one thing.
Yeah, no.
And then the other side of that is they might be jealous. They might be like, they might have like, this is an unfortunate fact, but the facts are that most people are comfortable in life. And when people start to level up and break like ceilings, they don't know how to handle it. So they try to pull them down instead of raise them up. And so it could be the other side of it, or a little of both. It could be that they're just like not knowing how to handle seeing you thrive and seeing you step into your greatness, that they have to like not support it or not be there. And sometimes they're not even consciously doing it. It's subconscious. They don't even realize it. But no matter what, then the next things that came to my mind of how do you handle that? What do you do? This is an example of why when you become a better version of yourself, people start to fall away. And it's also why you get to create boundaries. And so this is why I surround myself in communities. This is why I'm committed to creating communities. This is why I created the Fox Project, because I wanted a safe place for all the women in the world who are committed to giving their gift to the world and leveling up every single day of their life, to have a place to be around people who are also doing that, because I'm well aware that most of us don't have that on a daily basis. I don't have that. I have tons of friends who, like, I feel like I get subconscious jabs from my friends, like, oh, you're like this little cute social influencer. That's cute. Like, they don't support it. They don't celebrate it the same way they celebrate, like, going to school and getting a master's degree, or, you know, graduating this, or getting a raise at my job in corporate America. Like, they don't celebrate me the same way, but I'm not doing it for their validation. So I, like, it rolls off my shoulder. It used to trigger me because I was coming from a place of, like, I want them to see me. I want them to celebrate me. I want them to honor me. But I realized I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because there's people in the world that I want to wake up to their freaking potential, and I want them to live a purposeful, fulfilled life. And that's what I'm doing it for. So when I get the testimonials from people like you, or yesterday, like Samira, when she shared what she's gotten from working in the Fox Project, that's where I get, like, lit up, and I'm like, cool. Like, I don't need my friends and family to understand completely what I'm doing, because I've got lives that are changing because of what I'm doing. And so focus on what you're giving, not what you're receiving and what you're not receiving from people. And so that would be, like, how I would handle that. And just be okay with people. Like, as long as you're doing your part, you're clearing the air, you're forgiving them, you're like, you can't be mad that they're not giving you what you're expecting, because then you're expecting something, right? And
Yeah.
so I hope that helps.
No, that's perfect. Thanks.
Cool. I saw that there was one comment, so good. I love the quote, your trauma is not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. Ooh, that's good. So your trauma is not your fault, but your healing is your responsibility. That's huge. And that's, like, there's nothing truer than that. And that's exactly what I'm saying here is, like, doesn't matter what your circumstances is. You could be being resentful to your finances right now. You could be resentful to your job because it doesn't pay you enough, but you're choosing to be in that job. You could be in a relationship with someone who keeps cheating on you. You're choosing to still be in that relationship. So if you choose to stay, then you get to choose to endure what you're getting. And I'm not saying leave when you're cheated on. I'm saying if you're going to stay, then you get to be, like, willing to work with this person. And I think it's a beautiful thing when people work through cheating. I've been there. I get it. So I think it's a beautiful thing, because everybody has their crap. Everybody. So it's not, it may not be cheating the next time. It's going to be lying. It may not be lying the next time. It's going to be, you know, like, not treating you the way you want to be treated. It may not be not treating you the way you want to be treated. It might be parenting different from you. It might be not parenting different. And it might be, like, it's gonna be something. You're gonna have to forgive and coexist with every single human being, because we're all different. So anyways, thank you guys so much for sharing. And I will see you guys next Wednesday on Girl Talk with Crystal. I really am challenging myself to shorten my content so that we can keep it engaging. So I appreciate those of you who are chiming in and asking questions and giving your 2 cents. So I'll see you guys next week. Bye.